Yeah, otherwise you never that it was out of the fire. We are very obsessed. I think we're next to our balance. Hello. No, I have you. No, they do. Ready to see you.
Yep. It's a screen.
Welcome, everyone. We'd like to welcome you here to South Weber City Council. Today at 6 p.m. and today's Tuesday, February the 26th, 2026. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll lead us in that, and then Councilman Beals will offer a prayer. Please repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our kind and most glorious Heavenly Father, we're so grateful that we live in this country and that by doing so, we have the freedoms that we have today. We're grateful for all the blessings that those freedoms have given us and for the communities that we've built from it. Father, please bless that we will have thy spirit to guide us and direct us as we make the decisions for the city to the best of our abilities, relying on you to help us the rest of the way. This we pray for humbly in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman Dales. We'll begin with public comments. If you've got a comment, we'd ask you to come up to the microphone, state your name, the city from which you reside. I will allow you 3 minutes to speak and address the entire council, and we will not respond. So public comments is open.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor, City Council members. My name is John Atkin. I am a candidate for Davis County Sheriff. I do live in West Point, but I have patrolled your streets many times as a deputy paramedic, back when we had the paramedic service and as a law enforcement officer. I've loved living in Davis County. I've been here for about 25 years. I've lived outside of this state. I've lived outside the country, but I always came back, and it's a place where I want to raise my family. I love it here. I've had the absolute privilege and honor to serve at the city, county, state, and federal levels. At the city levels, I'm a part-time firefighter paramedic at North Davis Fire, work full-time at the sheriff's office at the county level. And then as well as been in the 14 years in the Utah National Guard, on the Army side and on the Air Force side as a military police enlisted member. Currently, I'm an intelligence officer with the Utah Air National Guard. I've been doing that for about 5 years with a current top secret clearance. So very heavily vetted within the requirements within that. It goes a lot more in depth. I wish that we did as law enforcement and background investigations. This past year, I had the privilege of going out and working with NATO over in Eastern Europe and working close with some of our partners and allied partners and other countries. I have a lot of concerns in the near future for our communities and for this beautiful state and county that we live in. On the military intelligence side, it is my job to be able to track pacing threats and concerns and things that are going to threaten our way of life. And some of those things, one of which is cyber, AI, and technology as a whole. And that definitely has a concern within my life and within my kids. And I feel that we as law enforcement need to be more accountable for that, and we need to start doing something about it because we're not. I also believe in protecting kids. When I was in criminal investigations for the sheriff's office, I helped conduct investigations into those that took advantage of our kids. And I think that we could do more. We need to do more to protect them. I also strongly believe in being hard on crime and focusing on what really matters and finding those criminals that live and act within our society. Very much a supporter and defender of the Constitution as a military officer, but as well as a law enforcement officer. Protecting individual freedoms is definitely one of my priorities. And then the last one is working with other elected officials in Davis County. I've made it a goal since I started my campaign back in October to go to all 15 city council meetings meet with all the mayors and with all the police chiefs. And you were the second to the last, and it's taken me 4.5 months to make it because all you folks love to have them on Tuesday nights, but that's okay. I feel that if I'm going to represent you truthfully and fully, that I need to be able to understand the problems and concerns that you that you deal with on a daily basis as representatives of your citizens. But thank you for your time, and I look forward to having more communications and more contact later. Again, John Atkin, thank you. Thank you, John.
Amy Mitchell, South Weaver City. First, I want to say thank you for your service and good luck. So 11 days ago, I sent an email to all of you about this horrible looking pole in my neighborhood, the one right across the street, that all my neighbors have stopped and asked me what it's for. I went and talked with the guys that were installing it. They told me it was for the water meters to be able to read it from the city office, and that there was 4 in the city. I asked you guys what it was for, how much it cost, when it was approved, all that kind of stuff. I asked Lance about it at the last meeting. He said he'd look into it. I sent you this picture because my neighbor is 5'10", and if you multiply her by 5, the pole is quite a bit taller than her, and Lance had told me that it was supposed to be right around 25 feet. My phone wouldn't register the height of it when I tried to measurement. So, yeah, I would like to do a formal inquiry about that. I also mentioned in my email about not having the city staff's email addresses on the website. And I don't know if that's new, because I remember them being there in the past. Because I would have forwarded this to all of the city staff. But that was, nobody responded to me. And you guys say you're listening, and you say that you're here for us. 11 days, and I've gotten nothing back from anybody. And, you know, it's kind of frustrating when we're sitting out there, we're waiting for you to kind of follow through with some of the things that you're being asked by citizens. And then it gets ignored. And, you know, Jeffrey Eddings was up here in the Planning Commission asking about the sign that's blinking red and green in his front room. And the sign for Morty's Car Wash that's supposed to be dimmed at night, that's not. Like, things are happening. They're not getting fixed. They're not getting taken care of. Now we're looking at adding a median in 2700 and a roundabout, but we can't afford as a city to widen that road the width that it should be. And I referenced in my email, I think we should learn from the sign down at Maverick that it's not worth putting something in and then having to tear it out and pay to do it a second or third time. Let's pay to do it right the first time. Find the money somewhere. Like, we just built this beautiful public works buildings, more than one, and we found the money for that. We can find the money to make this road happen the right way the first time, instead of letting it be built, tearing it out, doing it again, maybe adding a median, maybe not adding a median. My vote is no median, because I like to dump my trailer at Maverick and then go to the light and be able to turn left and go to my neighborhood, instead of going up through Deer Run and, you know, trying to back it into my driveway. We're not newbies, but we're not great at it. So, you know, we have our pattern that we stick to, but this alters greatly the way that we could use Maverick. And it was said at the Planning Commission meeting, we'll go out the south entrance. I don't know if any of you have tried to go behind Maverick and then go through the parking lot and back out the south entrance. It's next to impossible in a truck. I can't imagine being a truck with a trailer or 2 trailers. Some of those big rigs have tandem trailers. I can't imagine doing some of that kind of stuff. So I hope you stick up for Maverick. They've been a good neighbor to us. They've been great for our community. And I think having a median would direct traffic to the other establishment and away from Maverick. And I think as our city council, it behooves you to be in to look for the best interest of the people that are here. And, you know, we have CUPs for a reason. They're conditional. We can put conditions in. The guy from Quick Trip stated that they're a $13 billion company. Well, I'm pretty sure that they can afford to widen that road if they want to come here. Let's do it right the first time. Let's fix the things. Let's do it right the first time and not have to fix the same things again and again. And I just want to leave that with you, and thank you for all of your service.
Okay.
Thank you, Amy.
Anyone else?
Hello, Mayor and City Council. My name is Andy Oblad, and I'm from Farmington. That's where I live. And I'm also running for sheriff. And I wanted to introduce myself to each of you and to the folks that are here. I'll hang around after and I'm happy to answer any questions about my campaign and what's going on at the sheriff's office. I've got 28 years working in law enforcement. Before I get started, a little bit of information about the sheriff's race. There's 4 candidates, 4 of us are running. You've heard from 2 of us tonight, John Atkin and me, Andy Oblad, and there's 2 others. I would encourage you to get to know each of us and find out what you think about our qualifications and who would be the best sheriff. It's a big decision. It's a very important role. And experience matters, qualifications matter. And as I said, I've been working 28 years in law enforcement. I started in Salt Lake City. I served 21 years there, retired as a lieutenant. I went and worked for the Utah Jazz for a couple of seasons as their team security in 2017 to 2019. And then in 2019, Sheriff Sparks was elected as the new sheriff. He's our current sheriff, and he appointed me to be his deputy chief or chief deputy over law enforcement. And I've been working as a chief deputy for the past 7 years, being mentored by the sheriff, Kelly Sparks. He's decided to retire at the end of the year. He told me a year or 2 ago that a very influential voter in Davis County told him he needs to retire, and that's his wife. And so he's not going to run again. And he also told me that he thinks I have what it takes to be the next sheriff. We've been working closely together, and that he would endorse me. And that's a powerful endorsement, because Kelly Sparks is a great police leader and a great leader in our communities. I hope to improve a few things at the sheriff's office, but I think we're doing really well. We've been there for 7 years, and we've been making positive change the whole time, fixing things that need to be fixed, and then making changes that we feel like were important and needed to happen. My focus is going to be on community safety, making sure our neighborhoods and schools are safe. And then I've made it a goal this year to get out and talk to people in the community, talk to community leaders. I had a meeting with David Larson a couple of weeks ago, and just hear what people are thinking. I work inside the county. I want to hear what the cities are thinking and feeling and how we can do better. So as I said, I'm Andy Oblad. I'll wait around after, and if anybody has questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. It's nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Did he say how many other cities he had left to go? Yeah.
I've got to go to about 2 more cities.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone else? Okay. We've got Mark Anderson and Jeanette Harris here to lead a presentation in our LBA bond refunding. So we'll turn the time to you at this time.
We're gonna let Jeanette start off.
Okay, Jeanette.
Okay, my name is Jeanette Harris. I am with Zions Public Finance, and a pleasure to be here with all of you. As the agenda says, we're going to talk to you a little bit about bond refunding. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about, in general, what municipal bond refunding is, and then Mark is going to talk to you specifically about potential bond refunding on one of South Weber City's outstanding bonds. So if we want to go ahead and go to the first screen. Do you guys all have a copy of the PowerPoint in front of you?
I have.
Okay. Do you want to, can you put it out of presentation? There we go. Okay, great. So a municipal bond refunding is simply issuing a new municipal bond to pay off an existing municipal bond. And there's several reasons why a municipality would want to do that. The number one listed here, and the most common, is for economic savings. So if an issuer can issue a bond at a lower interest rate than what the initial bond was issued at, then there is savings in the interest. So you add up all the interest through the term of the bond, And if it's less than the original bond, then there is savings there. When Mark talks to you, he's going to talk to you and use the term net present value savings. What that means is if you look at what your savings and interest is in today's dollars, that's your net present value savings. So that's the number one reason why people would issue a new bond to pay off the old bond, is because they will save money and interest through the term of the bond. Another reason that an entity would issue a new bond to pay off an old bond, we refer to as cash flow enhancements. And a lot of times you will get a combination. So it's not just one reason, but there could be a combination of reasons. So what cash flow enhancements is issuers' budgets change over time. So when you originally issued the bond, and it could be a 20-year bond or a 30-year bond, you're looking at your budget 20 to 30 years out, and you're going, okay, here's what we think our cash flow is going to look like. And so here's what we want our debt service payments to look like. Well, that could change over time. So maybe an entity wants to issue a refunding bond because they need to better match the cash flows to what the budget is actually going to be. So that could be another reason. Changed legal covenants. So when you issue a bond, there's certain legal covenants that you have to adhere to with regards to that bond. For example, if you issue a sales tax revenue bond, there could be a covenant in the legal documents that say your sales tax revenues need to be 2 times the amount of your debt service payments. And you have to keep to that covenant as long as the bonds are outstanding. For some reason, you may need to change that rate covenant. So if you issue a new bond, you could issue it under a new indenture that would then have a new rate covenant. Another reason you might need to change legal covenants, there's something called a debt service reserve fund. That some types of bonds, there's something called an assessment bond that you would issue if you were going to have an assessment area and have assessment payments, and they always require a debt service reserve fund. Maybe you need to make changes to the terms of the debt service reserve fund. That would be another example of a change in legal covenants. The next one, to manage risk. Let's say interest rates were really low and an issuer issued a variable rate bond because that matched their cash flow structure, but interest rates are going up and up and up and up. And so they want to refund the bond and issue a bond with a fixed interest rate instead of a variable interest rate. Another reason you may want to manage risk, maybe you had some swaps or derivatives attached to the bond, so you want to issue a new bond and change that structure. Or maybe you want to change the amortization of it. So maybe it was a 20-year bond and now you want to do a 10-year bond or a 15-year bond. You could issue a new bond to change how long the bond's going to be outstanding. And then the last reason on there is to release funds. So I mentioned debt service reserve fund. So if you want to issue a new type of bond, I won't say type of bond, but this kind of ties back into changing the legal covenants. So we've had instances with UTA, for example, where when you issue a refunding bond, you can release some of those debt service reserve funds and the entity can have a little more cash. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, current versus advance refunding. So there's 2 types of refundings. One is called a current refunding, one is called an advance refunding, and they're very descriptive of what they are. So a current refunding means you are refunding it concurrently with what we call the call date. So the call date is the legal date that you can actually refund the bonds. And if you issue a bond in the marketplace, generally call dates are 9 to 10 years out. So you have to keep the bond for 9 to 10 years. After that, you could refund the bond. Or, for example, with the city's outstanding bond that Mark's going to talk to you about, it was issued as what we call a direct purchase. So Bank of Utah bought the bonds and they are callable anytime, meaning that you could refund those bonds anytime. So that's a current refunding when you refund the bonds concurrently with the call date. There's also something called an advance refunding. That means you advance the bonds in advance of the call date. So you would issue a new bond, the money would go into escrow, make the payments on the existing bond until the call date, and then you would pay that bond out. But in about 2018, the federal government said, yeah, no more advance refundings on tax exempt bonds. It was a great tool, saved municipalities a lot of money, but that went away. So now if you want to advance refund, generally you need to go from tax exempt to taxable, and then you can do that anytime. All right, last slide that I'm going to talk about. Current period refunding, very similar to your mortgage refinance. So if you're going to refinance your house, right, you have a current mortgage, you take out a new loan, that new loan pays off the old loan. So you had old investors that had bought the old loan, we have new investors that buy the new one. So that's basically your current refund, your municipal refunding 101. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. So 5 of the 6 of you were on the council when we issued the bonds for the new public works facility. And just as a reminder, we issued $9 million worth of lease revenue bonds in November of 2023. And the bonds were directly placed with Bank of Utah, as Jeanette indicated earlier. And that was really a decision of the city council, that they wanted to have call flexibility because we felt like we were kind of in an environment where rates were higher, certainly than they had been the previous years. And there were indicators that it was likely in the next few years that those rates would come down. So essentially the council said, we're willing to pay a little bit more interest right now for the ability to refinance this loan in the coming years if there's a better opportunity to save some money. And so when that bond was issued, it had a 20-year term and a TIC, or a true interest cost, of 4.90%. The annual payments are approximately $706,000 a year. And as mentioned earlier, the bonds are callable at any time. You can refinance them at your pleasure. Next slide. So we have some rules of thumb as to when it makes sense to refund a bond. And in most cases, this holds true, but there may be some exceptions. But as financial advisors, we look for a minimum of 3% net present value savings that benefits the issuer after paying any costs of issuance. So if that'd be $33,000 essentially for every $1 million of bonds that you had outstanding. And we always feel like that you should save more money than those professionals that are involved in the issuance of the bonds, bond counsel, financial advisors, underwriters, etc. Let me just give you one example of when you might refund for less savings. Say you had a bond that was going to mature in 3 years. So you really don't have a long period of time to generate savings, but maybe you can save $200,000 off say a $4 million bond. It may not meet the 3% test, but it may be worth pursuing if the city sees that it's worth the effort to capture a couple $100,000 in savings. Next slide, please. So I can't see the numbers basically all from here, but this is your current bond remaining payments. And you'll see there that there's a column called coupon. And in that column is an associated interest rate for every bond maturity, every principal payment through the life of the loan. And it probably goes from around high 3% to I think 5.7% at the end. So when you issued the bonds, the interest rate for the entire life of the bond was 4.9%. But you've paid off a couple of the lower coupons because they're ascending. So now the true interest cost of the remaining bonds is at 5.04%, I think. And and as you go on, if you were to keep the same repayment schedule, the last year, you'd be paying 5.7% on the last payment. So, I think the payments are about $706,000 a year. When a coupon or an interest rate varies throughout the life of the bond, we call that a serialized coupon versus a fixed rate coupon. Next slide. So I did 3 different scenarios that the city might want to consider if they were to pursue a refunding of a bond. Ultimately, there's a lot of different options you could pursue or structures you could pursue, but I basically said, well, what do we expect if we were able to take this to market, to the public market where we have more buyers and can obtain lower costs of interest, what would our payment look like if we took all that savings from the lower interest cost and just reduced our annual payment? And I can't see the number from here, but I want to say it was like $80,000 a year, lower payment than what you currently have for the remaining life of the bonds. Okay, so your debt service has gone down from $706,000 to $627,000 or $6,000 a year. So it's about $80,000 less a year. Now that's in cash savings. That's not NPV savings, and we'll look at the NPV savings on the different options at the end. So that's one scenario. In visiting with Brett and David, we understand that there's about $800,000 of unspent bond proceeds that still remain from the Public Works bond. And we've talked about, well, are there other options on how those funds could be used? And I think the reality is that the description of the project in the bond documents is very narrow, and it's limited pretty much to the Public Works facility and associated grounds and improvements. So I don't know that you have a good option of ways to spend that that makes sense for the city. So what do you do with money that you have extra when you issue a bond? There's really only one option, and that is to use it to make bond payments. And I think that makes the public the happiest too. So, but there is an option of taking that same $800,000 and applying it to the loan and reducing at the time of refunding and reducing the amount of money that you ultimately end up borrowing, or reducing the bond amount by approximately $800,000 on a refunding. So this scenario shows, I think we're on option, is that the last option? Is there one before that?
I think it's option 2.
Is that option 2? That's option 3. Can we go back one? Okay, so option 2. This option is pay down the bond $800,000 at the time of refunding, take advantage of a lower interest rate, and reduce your annual payments to approximately $570,000 or $67,000 a year, which is probably another $40,000 a year in additional savings beyond just the interest savings. So the last option, option 3, takes that same $800,000, but instead of reducing your annual payment from the approximate $706,000 a year, it keeps that same payment in place until the very last year, when in 2039 that payment would only be $35,000. Because keeping the payments the same the prior years leaves you that much left over in that last payment. So really your average payment's very similar to your current payment, with the exception of that last year. But it pays off the bonds 4 years earlier. So let's go to the next slide. That's kind of a summary of the things that I've presented. Now, if you could shrink that down now. So as I indicated, there's always the other option is wait. We're of the opinion that it's very difficult to time the market and find its lowest point. We probably would be advocates for taking a bird in the hand versus two in the bush when their savings are significant enough. We've seen people that have waited and it's cost them literally millions of dollars because what they hoped would happen did not. And we can give you examples of that if you'd really like on another day. But one option is to not pursue refunding at this time in hopes that rates might continue to go down and look at this at another time. And I show the estimated tick at 5.04% because was 4.9% now that the lower interest rates of coupons have been paid off. The remaining interest rate is 5.04%. And you continue to make your $706,000 an average payment, and you'd pay a total of $12,722,000 in principal and interest payments. The next option we looked at was just taking the savings and reducing the payments over the life of the loan. And that would reduce your payment approximately $80,000 a year. Your total principal interest, that would be $11,285,000. And that's different than NPV savings, because you see that the 12,722,000 less the 11,265 is not $1,060,000. So that shows the valuation of the savings in today's dollars versus total cash flow dollars. The second option was to pay down the bonds, $800,000, and reduce the bonds proportionately to where you have level payments over the remaining life of the loan. And you'd pay approximately $10,222,000. All those three options would have the bonds mature in 2043. And the last option would be to pay down the bonds, $800,000, keep your payments the same, and pay off the bonds essentially 4 to almost 5 years earlier, because that last payment's very small. And so when you look at the $656,000 average annual payment, it's really kind of skewed because that last payment's so low. It's really, for the most part, $706,000 payment, with the exception of that last number. And your total principal interest on that scenario would be about $9,190,000. Now, the numbers that we have here are just indicative of where we think the market is currently. They're subject to change. They can go up, they can continue to go down. But that's a snapshot of what we think the market looks like today. Any questions?
Just a quick question about the 800,000. Would we be able to use that to just put that into interest-bearing account just to make money on the interest and then use that as like a big balloon payment at the end? Is that an option or no?
You would run into arbitrage issues and the IRS would frown on that.
Okay.
The answer is no. Yeah, anytime you borrow money and then turn around to invest it and make interest off of it, the IRS frowns upon that.
So arbitrage is the concept of where you borrow at a lower rate than what you can reinvest it. And admittedly, there probably has been some times where this money was earning close to 5.5% in PTIF, I would guess. So they have spend down tests as far as how fast you spend the bonds to ensure that you're not taking advantage of the tax exempt rules and making money off the lower interest rate.
Other questions? What are we looking for here tonight, Dave?
Is the council interested at this time in pursuing refunding the bonds?
I'd like to hear from Brett first. What his recommendations are, whether you think we need to lower our payment.
I think that what he presented is great. It shows the way that, it's like it's a snapshot right now. I think it's a great tool to look at, to see which option would best fit our needs. I think it's something that I would recommend pursuing if that's what the council wants to do. I think we could, by lowering the interest rate and the savings that we could have, even on a yearly basis, that cash flow could help elsewhere. with it being tied up right now in interest, that's a big part to swallow, saying there's options to lower our payments, but we're not taking them. That would be hard to say, yeah, let's keep on this path, but I would definitely recommend at least pursuing one of these options.
So you don't believe that the interest rates are going to lower?
Well, they may lower. I don't know what the interest rates are going to be, but I think it definitely should be, I would recommend pursuing, looking at these different options now. It may change over time and typically this may take 6 months to work through all the options that we have and determine which one's best for us. And they could lower in the next 6 months and they could go higher. So it's something that I think we should definitely look at and determine if it's something we want to do as a city.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'd have one more question on option number 2.
Yes.
Is that an option where if we were seeking for that forced lower payment of 567 as it shows here, would that give us the option to pay extra on that? Or would that force us into a fixed payoff period like you talked about earlier, where right now we're not necessarily fixed there, but would we be able to basically throw extra at it if we felt like annually we had a little extra we could throw towards the bonds?
Not really. It would probably be call protected for a 10-year period to where you couldn't refund it or pay additional principal. Now, with Bank of Utah, it's prepayable at any time, in part or whole, by order of maturity. So if you wanted to make extra payments now, you could. But what it's going to do is it's going to pay off the lowest interest coupons first and not the highest ones. But once you're in a market transaction, you're going to be really restricted from making additional payments or refinancing in that first 10-year period.
So all of these options were not callable, and
All of them assume a market transaction that would not be called, you'd be
callable.
call protected for 10 years. Good question.
that makes a little difference. I still think it's something worth pursuing and talking about.
Agreed. Yeah. I agree with that.
Agreed.
You know, I think if another option is if you went to Bank of Utah and said, hey, we're thinking about refunding this loan, would you consider offering us a new interest rate? A lower interest rate rather than us doing that? And you could probably reduce it maybe to something closer to 4.25%. You'd have some fees for the transaction, but you'd still have that same call flexibility at a lower price point.
Do these come with fees as well? So if we were to switch design, would there be an upfront fee that would need to be paid or no?
There are what we call cost of issuance associated with the bond. So if a bond's issued, bond counsel, financial advisor, who we are for the city, if there was a market transaction, there'd be underwriters, there would be a trustee. There would be a bond rating that would be required. There'd have to be a preliminary official statement drafted. That is the tool that we use to tell the market, potential purchasers of this proposed bond sale and give it information about the city and the economy and its ability to repay its leadership, et cetera. So it is more expensive from a cost of issuance standpoint because it doesn't require the official statement and the bond rating.
Yeah.
And you usually have a disclosure counsel fee that's paid to the bond attorney. That's usually an additional amount.
Is that a fixed percentage of the total bond or is that variable?
No, I mean, my guess is for this transaction, the fee would probably be around $85,000 in total fees, and that includes title insurance because the building itself is the collateral for the loan. There's no revenue pledge. And that's after, that is taken into consideration before you calculate NPV savings.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Is there anything
Any
else
other,
that
any other
council would
comments?
like?
or- say, yes, we're interested and let's pursue it.
What I'd like to see is the finance committee take this on and at least get us to a state where we're ready to be able to pull a trigger if we want to. I personally think that the rates are still going to be going down lower. It's a little bit too early to jump, but I would trust a recommendation by the finance committee. You guys looking at it, like you said, checking with a few other banks and a few other things to just be ready and see what we could do.
Everyone good with that?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Can I ask one clarifying question? Of the various options, either reducing a payment annually or paying off the bond early, where does the council sit on that as we ask the committee to look into it? Are there hopes or dreams as you look at those options that you feel are better than others?
I like option 3 the best, but that would be dependent on if Brett says, you know what, we probably need a little more flexibility in our budget, so it'd be better to go for that option 2 lower payment. Those are the two that I would lean towards, but I would lean towards 3, keep our payment the same. I feel like everything we went over budget wise, we have the money to pay it, so let's not pay more interest than we have to, would be my initial thought. But again, if we want some more flexibility in our budget, then I think option 2 is a pretty strong option based on what we're seeing right now anyway.
I agree with that. Also, I like option 3. If that's, we have to talk with Brett, but would be my preference.
We need to really determine if those funds can afford that, because we still have some funds that are short on that, coming up with their portion of that payment. And so that's where I think Brett would like the extra money, but I think we have been able to figure it out so far, so.
And you could just take the option of shortening a couple of years instead of 4. So, yeah, you have a little bit higher payment than option 3, but might be a little more comfortable payment wise for the city. There's lots of ways we could structure this. Those are just 3 examples.
And I think the finance committee can kind of explore all that.
Right.
Wayne has a lot of time.
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else on that? If not, we'll move along with our consent agenda. We need to approve January 13th. Thank you, Mark and Jeanette, for coming. We appreciate it very much.
You guys.
Okay, we'll continue with our consent agenda consisting of January 13th, 2026 minutes, January 27th, 2026 minutes, January's checks, and December's budget to actual. Is there any discussion or changes that need to be made? If not, then I'll look for a motion to approve this.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next item, before we go into our public hearing, we're going to turn some time to Brandon Jones, and he's going to lead us in a discussion on this amended sewer impact fee facility plan. Brandon, turn time to you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So you may recall that back in August, you already adopted the impact fee facilities plan for a sewer. As the timing of the bond with Public Works and exactly how much each of the different utilities would pay, there was some finalization of that occurred after what we had originally put in. So some minor adjustments to those numbers to make sure that they match up with the impact fee analysis, which will be later in the agenda. So that's the need for bringing it to you again. Nothing has changed, just some minor tweaking to the numbers.
Okay. Thank you. With that, then we'll look for a motion to open the public hearing for the amended sewer impact fee facilities plan.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is open. If anyone has any comments, please come up to the microphone. Anybody? Seeing none, then we'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
Okay, ordinance. Any discussion, council, on that, or?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
No, but I
Okay.
do want to thank the sheriff candidates for coming to such an enjoyable meeting.
Wait till they get down here. and
I know.
Manual training.
That's what I'm saying. And they both said they were staying until it was over.
Yeah, welcome.
Okay, ordinance 2026-01, amending sewer impact fee facilities plan.
Mayor, make the motion to approve ordinance 2026-1 amended sewer impact fee facilities plan as presented.
Second.
Second by Jeremy or Angie. Joe, take your pick.
go ahead, Angie.
That's fine.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Councilman Windsor.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we'll ask for a motion to open public hearing for sewer impact fee analysis.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, public hearing is open. Anyone have any comments they'd like to make?
Mayor, would you like, Ryan Smith with Zions is here to make a presentation on this? Would you like to have that before
That's-
the public hearing?
I'll be quick.
We'll
You can
make
do it now.
You can do it right now. Take off.
Yeah. So thanks. I haven't heard the last of Zions, but I'll make it quick. I'm from the other side of the office with the municipal consulting group. My name's Ryan. So I'll just quickly go through the impact fee analysis that we prepared in conjunction with the impact fee facilities plan that Jones and Associates produced. So let's just get right into it. So just to quickly overview, an impact fee is a one-time fee paid at the building permit counter to cover capital projects associated with new development. Can only pay for system improvements. So it's not paying for, lines going through the walls of a house, but trunk lines, main lines. In order to charge the impact fee, you've got to have both of these documents in place, the IFFP as well as the IFA. Move on to the next slide. So IFFP is the technical document, the engineering document. It's looking at the existing service levels, what services are offered now, what is going to be needed in the future. And in the case of South Weber Sewer, it's really looking at excess capacity. So the engineers found that there's enough capacity in the sewer system for anticipated growth. So no new facilities are needed based on the IFFP as it stands. So then our IFA, go to the next slide. The IFA then in the proportionate share analysis is looking at what does new development need to pay to kind of get their right to access the system. It's also accounting for the fact that existing development is accounting for a lot of the usage as it stands. So we make credits for that. Let's move forward. So the IFFP shows 758 new units over the next 10 years, 9 years. Let's keep going forward. So pay off the bond. Some of that's paid by existing, some of that's going to be paid by anticipated growth. So overall, the cost per unit for the sewer facility is $970. But an impact fee isn't going to cover that full $970 because we need to make credits so that they're only paying for their fair share. They're not paying twice for portions of the facility that have already been paid down. So out of the $4 million of the Public Works facility that is attributed to sewer, only about 18% of it, or about $735,000, is considered impact fee eligible. So let's move forward one slide. So looking at that that portion that's impact fee eligible, that's your credit column 2 P&I, and it also accounts for any funds that are in the fund balance, impact fee fund balance. It accounts for that. And then, so the way you get from the 970 to then kind of your final answer, the maximum fee you can charge new development, take the total cost, 970, less of, let's go back one still. Take the total cost of 970, less the net present value of what existing units are paying into. So you have first row $42. They're going to pay $42, $41. It's going to go down as it gets paid off. And so that net present value is it's the cash flows of the current year and all the future years. So as you go throughout the years, some of it's been paid off. That's why your max fee then gets higher, because there's less of a credit for existing development. So your max fee for one equivalent residential unit this year is about $565. By 2035, it'll be about $751. And we've also provided on the next slide the same information, but for different meter sizes in the case of commercial development, larger multifamily development, et cetera. I believe that's all. Any questions?
My biggest question is I'm a little confused how the new facility adjusts the fee structure for the whole city. I'm not, because that's what we're looking at, right? Is that correct? Am I understanding that right?
I mean, this is just for impact fees. You're not talking about utility rates.
It's just for sewer.
Right.
fees, yeah.
Agreed. But I guess I'm missing, I don't fully understand what the new facility has to do with charging fees everywhere else in the city. Because that's how I'm understanding what's being said, yeah?
Let me give you just a little bit of background that might explain that, but the history of it is prior to about 4 years ago, we did not have specific meter data on our sewer system lines. And when that's the case, the state requires you to size your lines based on a factor of safety so that, you know, you don't have backflow and things like that. And because of that, we had a list of projects that we had identified on our capital facilities plan that had upsizing of pipes and things like that. A few years ago, we were able to put meters on and get actual flow data throughout the city. What that did is we sent that information to the state, and the required pipe size for our system changed because of that. So our list of projects, which included the sewers portion of the new facility, that was on this list of projects. Well, once we got that flow meter data, it changed that list of projects to now only include the new facility. We don't need to upsize pipes to increase capacity. So now that line of projects that are only capital or that are only impact fee eligible is reduced down to one project. Therefore, the impact fee really is associated with that one project now rather than the whole list of projects.
So the impact fees paying off. Yeah, thank you. So the impact fees paying off the bond on the facility, the portion of that for sewer, it's not paying off anticipated new facilities for new development. There's no new facilities
All
needed.
right, I think I'm in line now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, public hearing is open. Anyone has any comments they'd like to make?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, ordinance 2026-02 sewer impact fee analysis. Any discussion, council, or you ready to make a motion?
No, I
move to
appreciate you
approve
guys getting that done.
2026-02 sewer impact fee analysis.
Motion.
Seconded.
Or the roll call vote, starting with Councilman Halverson.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Brandon, thank you for getting it done. Zions, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Ordinance 2026-03 amending Title 10, Chapter 11 supplementary and qualifying regulation. Any discussion on this ordinance, council? Lance?
Yes, this is just a code amendment. We realized a few months back that we really did not prohibit a 6-foot tall fence in the front yard. And so we wanted to address that. The code committee met, discussed it. We also had obviously a meeting with the planning commission. They reviewed the proposal and recommend approval. In short, it says, that a fence can be no higher than 4 feet in the front setback. The front setback is usually, from the front property line, 25 feet back in most of our residential zones. And in that area, we would only allow a maximum of a 4-foot high fence if it was less than 75% opaque. And if it was a solid fence, it could only be 3 feet high. It's just to keep it so it's visual, open, community aesthetic, also a safety issue. Having a 6-foot tall solid wood fence right on the sidewalk would be could potentially have some traffic issues and such. So planning commission met, recommended approval.
Okay.
I got several questions if I can.
Okay.
Let me ask all of them before you begin answering, Lance. Those who have fences that currently don't comply with this, are they grandfathered in? If they are grandfathered in, how do we know they're grandfathered in? There's no date certain in regards to when this takes place and if they're in or not, so we need to delineate that. 2, if those fences become replaced, do they then have to comply with the now current code? In my opinion, they would, but I would like to hear what your opinion is on that and if that needs to be written into the ordinance.
So the existing fences would be grandfathered in. If it was, we're not gonna go out and inventory the entire, these fences and whatnot. They would just have to provide some documentation if it came up as an issue. It really hasn't been an issue, so I think it would really just kick in when we're talking about new fences that go in. So hopefully that wouldn't be too much of an issue, but I don't know. There's that possibility. The date certain would be the date of the ordinance, I think, is the answer to the question there. And then if somebody came in and was replacing a fence, they have a 6-foot fence in the front yard now, they would have to come into compliance. So that nonconformity on a structure, at least the nonconforming ordinance, if you're doing a substantial replacement, then you'd have to come into compliance.
So the legal question would be, should that now then be written into the code that says all fences?
My thought is, and we can certainly, maybe we do add something into this here, but it would go to the non-conforming chapter of the current ordinance.
Okay.
Which I can't really quote, but it essentially says, if there's a substantial change or a replacement, then it needs to come into compliance.
Thank you.
Would-
my questions.
The only question I have is, would this apply if you're a corner house to the side?
That would be considered, they'd have 2 fronts.
They have 2 fronts,
By code definition.
because that does occur several places in the city.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does.
Double check, but I
Just because it comes around their backyard and cuts in. I mean, I've just walking around, you see that quite often.
So if someone has a corner lot and their side, you're saying that their side yard can't have a 6-foot fence?
That's because that's considered another front. That's why, I mean, as you walk around, if you walk around the neighborhoods, there's a lot of people who have a 6-foot fence for dogs and stuff in the back, but it comes halfway up their house on the side
Yeah.
and down right along the sidewalk. And so that is in the easement and it's in, or the setback, and it's in, if that's considered a front. That's why I'm asking. I just don't want it to become a huge deal. Because then they can't ever have if they're on a corner, they can't have a 6-foot fence in their side, in their backyard.
Well, Lance, wouldn't
Yeah.
that's still considered a side yard, not a
That's
front?
what I was gonna look up the definition.
That was my only question.
Side
is-
adjacent
You
street.
you only have one front. You pick a front and
As
then
long
the
as it-
other
as long
would
as
be
it
a
doesn't
side,
affect-
so.
You just have a lot of people that couldn't fence in a backyard for
Right.
animal or kids or whatever.
All right,
It couldn't fit in taller than 3 feet.
It taller than 3 feet.
4
That
feet
doesn't
is
keep
like-
many dogs in the yard.
Right. No, I don't think that at least when we had conversations about this, that the intent was it would change anything like
Okay.
what is, I think, commonly practiced. The concern was that it didn't specifically disallow someone from like taking a 6-foot solid fence right along the sidewalk of their front yard. And there was just some concerns about safety and issues that way.
I'm
So,
gonna say,
yes.
please go ahead.
Can I ask what the safety concern is on that? I have one in mind, but what safety concern are we trying to mitigate with this? With a 6-foot yard fence in the front yard?
The
Yep.
biggest one would be clear vision. You're not gonna see somebody coming down that sidewalk.
Okay. And I
That-
can see that. I'm also kind of annoyed about this code.
Oh, really?
I am.
I agree.
I feel like it feels too much like an HOA. Like, we're gonna make sure that it has X amount of opaqueness and they can only have it 3 feet if we can kind of see through it, but 4 feet, maybe if you can't, I feel like it's too much.
Hmm.
So I really don't like it. I recognize the safety with the 6-foot pulling out of a
Well,
driveway.
someone who's walking along the sidewalk and a car backing out, they'd have no idea they were coming. I mean, there's some things like that. I think there was also some concern about, I don't know, the ability for people to hide in a front yard.
But what if I want to hide in my front yard?
Well, okay. I can't do
I'm
anything about
just
that.
saying.
You guys will take care of it.
If someone wants to hide under a 3-foot fence, they'll hide in a 3-foot fence. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I get it. So I won't fight the 6-foot thing, but I don't agree with making opaqueness, like it has to be, what was it, 75% opacity? I
You could
just,
just say no fence at all. That'd be the easiest.
Brandon, politely disagree with
I have
that.
a lot of- I have a lot of fence around my yard.
No, I mean, just in the front setback. If you don't have, if you're, the challenge sometimes becomes to say, well, we do want to allow some kind of fencing. So then you have to then specify, well, what are you going to allow? And I think that's where they tried to land. And maybe I should just let Lance talk and I'll be quiet.
Taking it.
It's great. Sorry.
The reason, I mean, it kind of came up was somebody was putting a 6-foot tall fence in their front yard in the residential area. And a lot of people were very upset. It's like, oh my gosh, what's this guy doing? He's putting up this giant fence. And there was nothing we could do to stop him. He was putting these fence in the front yard and.
Okay, I know exactly which one you're talking about because
Neighbor-
it's just down the street for me. And I agree with you. There's a lot of uproar about it.
I'm not having,
I-
it's not an opinion, it's,
Yeah.
I'm saying what people say.
No, I totally agree. I totally understand what you're saying. But I also am with Angie on this one. It feels very HOA to me. So I'm a no on this one personally, but the only thing that I can agree on is that I know that, or I agree that there can be a safety issue and line of sight issue. So I think for me, that's the only thing that we would have to address is line of sight concerns. And I think you can address that in other ways besides saying you are only allowed to have this type of fencing and it can only be this tall or whatever. If someone wants to put up a block fence in their front yard, I personally am okay with that. But I think you also still need to address the line of sight issue because I agree if you're a little kid coming down on your tricycle down the sidewalk and there's no line of sight, then there's a high probability of an accident occurring. So I totally agree with that. But outside of that, I'd say I don't like anything else on that one.
They would have
I agree.
they would have to 45 it back and all of those things for line of sight.
Right. Right. But not too many people are gonna do that.
No, not
Right.
too many people will, but
Yeah.
But that would have to be written into this,
Some sort of.
some sort of
safety
language
component or
saying
something,
that
yeah.
if that's.
Right, because
I'm
Clearview
kinda
kind of
neutral
just
on it. I don't-
applies to intersections right now, so.
say,
I guess
say
you
that
could just
again.
say it applies, the clear view that is in the code right now
Mhm.
just applies to intersections. So maybe that's where you'd go is say clear view also applies to all driveways. But that may then introduce other things that we haven't thought about.
Yeah.
Very true. Bushes, shrubs, especially complicated.
Okay. Don't make it complicated.
Yeah, don't complicate it. Let people fence their yard. I'm sorry, to me, I'm like, I see the whole, okay, safety concern on the sidewalk. I see that. But I also am like, if somebody wants to put a fence up, that's their prerogative, it's their property. That's how I feel. If I'm outvoted on the 6-foot thing, that's fine, but absolutely, I think we need to remove the opacity on there. Maximum height in front yard is 4 feet, leave it at that.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I do want to reserve the ability to be able to have visibility for the people on the sidewalk. And I think a 4-foot fence height is something that we could all live with. It allows for both safety for the pedestrians, but also some type of safety and recognition for the people that want to have a fence in their front yard. So I had neighbors that had it for their dog. It was a little yappy dog, and every time we walked by it, it chased us, but we both got what we want. I got to walk by it and they got to have a dog bark. So I think height. Now, if it does, because we were talking about it working on the backyard, if it's going out that backyard and the fence is going to be too high for a clear view site of the road coming in, obviously that just needs to be adjusted at that time as soon as we see it, or they want to put that up. But if I remember right, that's only a 40-foot, no, not 40-foot. Yeah, 45-degree right there. So if it's set back beyond our huge sidewalks and easement, I think that's going to cover most of it. So my opinion.
Okay. Someone like to make a motion?
No, I have one more point. All right. I actually disagree with Wayne. If someone does have a 6-foot fence in the yard, I don't feel like we should penalize them for updating their fence. If their fence needs repair and they want to make it look nice and continue to keep it looking nice, we shouldn't hold them to a new standard if they are making adjustments on it. I feel like that's unfair to them.
Repair and place.
Same difference. What if you have,
Talking two different things. I want to
No.
with a wrought iron fence.
Yeah.
Or a cement wall. I have a problem with that. That's not bad. That's not a good neighbor. But if I got a picket fence and I want to remove a couple slats, sure, replace the slats. But if I'm tearing it all out and put something totally different in, changes the whole landscape, changes the view for your neighbors. Oh, yeah. Gotta come back with a new code.
Lance, you had a comment?
The non-conforming chapter does discuss that, and maintenance and repairs would not change. They wouldn't have to come in compliance. They
complete
would be able to
replacement.
stay
Okay.
non-conforming for maintenance and repairs up to a certain point.
Yeah.
But if it's a replacement, then yes, then they'd have to come in. But that chapter addresses that if you wanted to go that.
so where are we going from here?
You're making a motion.
I'm making a motion.
Although we can make any motion the way it's written.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
I think we need to give the staff some direction as to what to do.
Well, you can make the motion.
It could be amended to just include a 4-foot fence without the opacity issue. Could it not?
It could.
That was what I thought Andy was saying, or Angie was saying.
It is what I want.
Good job, Andy.
Thanks, Blaine.
Whatever your consensus, if you're going to make edits to the ordinance language, I'd like to bring it back in a future meeting so we get the language right.
Perfect.
And just give some direction to staff as to what your consensus is. If you don't have consensus, then you can adopt ordinances by a split vote.
Let's make that motion.
Which motion?
You can table it if you want to, which gives them the time to make the changes, and then they can bring that one back using the same ordinance number. Or you can deny it or
Motion to table.
I think we want to table it.
So table, not continue.
continue means it technically have to
Either
go
one.
back at the next one. Table means it's picked up off the table.
So either one.
Okay.
Just puts Lance under the gun.
Yeah.
All right, we love you here.
Okay, Mayor, I make a motion to continue ordinance 2026-03, amending Title 10, Chapter 11, supplementary and qualifying regulations to amend the code to allow 4-foot high fence in front yards, removing the opacity requirement.
Seconded.
A motion second from Councilman Howerson. We'll do a roll call with Councilman Wendell.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next item, legislative review. Dave? Yep, 5 minutes.
Mayor, Councilmember Dills and myself have been to all of the LPCs that have taken place. There's a lot going on. And just like every legislative session, the last 10 days, which we are hitting, is when all of the action happens. So please watch your emails for action alerts to communicate with our state legislators on the various bills that are being tracked. I don't even need 5 minutes.
Well,
I'll take an extra minute
I
on
would
that.
like to know where the
Wow.
property tax bill's going.
Wow.
Well,
Early day.
Okay.
they've made a lot of changes, and I think the last one we heard was that it did go through and they've got it circled right now, third circle. Is what they were saying, which means all of these are,
They're just,
yeah, they're coming quick. And we really, when the alert comes out, I would definitely give them a very quick contact. They told us that they have about 2 hours at the most. My guess is it's more closer to like 20 minutes for somebody to notify them what the balance of emails coming in are for. So
They are talking about removing the cap when they talked about 5% cap for property tax increase. That is being removed out of the bill. There's a lot of discussion about timeline for potential notification for truth in taxation process and things like that. But there's about 3 bills that address it in different ways, and they're trying to coalesce those into kind of one concept. Ultimately, one of the major concerns that is being addressed is the idea that we start a budget year July 1 with a potential property tax increase that isn't held with a public hearing and adopted until mid part of August. And so the concern is that cities are already spending that money and feeling an obligation to raise the property taxes according to the budget before they've ever had a chance to hear from the public and go through the process. So one of the ideas is to essentially create standardization around how you communicate the intent to raise property tax and adopt a budget, a tentative budget. I know we use that term already, but kind of an operational budget that would include it. And then you'd have to hold that money and not spend it till after the public hearing, or not increase, at that point, depending, and a standardization of communication that of what that specific money would be used for, if it's hiring police officers or, projects or whatever. And so they're trying to create some standards around that, just public communication.
Thank you.
I was just gonna say, there is also one on water that I think it will affect the entire city. But that one hopefully won't make it out this time. But basically what it says is that the state water has decided that everybody should pay about 75% more in water fees. It goes to the city, whether we want it or not, and then that goes into basically a savings account goes into our general fund to be able to fix our own water products or projects.
Is this from Snyder?
Yeah. No,
I
it's
think
not
it,
Snyder.
I think it's 501, HB 501. I get the numbers all mixed
Yeah.
up at this stage of the legislative session, but the idea is ultimately, if you want to apply for grant money from the state, you would have to prove that you are already keeping your house in order, so to speak, that you are raising rates to the point that you're accomplishing your own needs to some level that they're trying to establish before you ask the state for money. And the back of the napkin calculation of math that they're requiring, it's based on median adjusted gross income times 1.5% times the number of connections that we have, which, again, rough numbers, were approximately $2 million in water revenue currently with our water rates. We would have to be getting approximately $3.4 million of water revenue based on this requirement to be eligible to apply for grant money from the state. If we don't want to apply for grant money from the state, then we don't have to do anything. We can just keep operating the way we are.
But with water towers, reservoirs the way we are set right now. It'd be nice to be able to have grant money, but not with this hidden tax, basically, so.
So, but does that mean they're changing how the enterprise funds work?
No, they're simply saying, if you want to be eligible for this grant money from the state, you need to raise your water rates first. Instead of,
Yeah.
they've heard anecdotally of cities that will say, we haven't raised our water rates in 20 years, and that's a badge of honor to them, and then turn around and ask for money from the state. And the state is saying, well, you could have been, taking care of your own business for a while here if you had been thinking it through more deeply. So don't just come looking for a handout. Is it a heavy-handed approach to solve that problem?
Yeah, for sure.
I believe so, but.
Okay. Well, Dave, you took more than 5 minutes.
Sorry.
That was my fault, probably.
Before we go any further, John and Andy, probably ought to make you aware that we do have a closed session after we adjourn. So I don't know if you want to hang around or not.
I wouldn't either.
It would be cold while sitting out there in your car. Of course, you could start, but we do have that closed session, so I thought I'd better bring that to your attention. So we appreciate both of you coming. Wish both of you.
Nice to listen to it and see it all.
Well, we appreciate you. We appreciate all that you do. Thank you very much. Okay. Me.
You got 5 minutes.
I intend
to take nowhere near 5 minutes.
Oh, perfect.
You all are in your second terms as members of the council at least, and have gone through training on Open and Public Meetings Act, both here and in other board and council assignments. So I just want to give a quick, very, very quick refresher, since you're all familiar with the act. We're required to do training annually. There have been no substantive changes to the Open and Public Meetings Act in the past year. The same rules apply. You can't act on something unless it's properly noticed. The notice has to be specific about the action that you intend to take. The core transparency and notice provisions remain the same. You have a very capable city recorder that makes sure all those notices occur and that your agendas are put together properly. And in my experience, they are and have been, and I expect they continually will be. Recordings are kept of the meetings. They're posted on the website as they're required. I've seen no circumstances where you've used closed sessions improperly or not entered a closed session with a 2/3 vote or without stating the statutory reason for the closed session. So unless there are questions on the Open and Public Meetings Act, that is my training for the year. On the Ethics Act, you all are familiar with the requirements of the Municipal Officers and Employees Ethics Act. If there are conflicts of interest, our city rules and the state rules are that your participation, if it's your own financial interest, a business interest, or a financial interest of an immediate family member, that you disclose that conflict. And we recommend in most circumstances that you also recuse yourself from discussion or acting on an item that relates to a disclosure or a conflict. There are annual disclosures that you're required to make and to be filed and posted. And the city recorder will be distributing forms that you can use to fill that out. And I would just encourage you, when in doubt, please disclose. Please call me ahead of time. I can give you direction and guidance and keep you and keep the city safe as you make decisions.
Thank you, Jamie.
Okay,
Thanks, Jamie.
Appreciate it. Okay, new reports. Anything new? Dave, do you have anything new?
I have a couple things to report, but no new business.
Okay. Council report.
I have I'm sorry, I have new business.
Okay,
I would just like, I just want us to officially put a code for golf carts. Can we have the code committee make one or find one from a different city?
Like
A code to allow or disallow golf carts driven in the city limits.
I think, I believe that falls under, included with your ATVs and that in most cities.
Right now, we do not have any code in our city
For either one.
specifically talking about golf carts. Therefore, it falls under the state code, which pretty much says they're not allowed unless a city chooses to allow them and has their own code.
Unless you talk to different people and then it's interpreted differently from different sheriffs. Because it does say that then they're allowed to be treated like bicycles. So my point is, without causing an argument, I just want a clear code because there are a lot of people that have them.
My experience has been as you described, that law enforcement, especially when you contract for services with the sheriff's office, they will not enforce it unless you have something specifically written into your city code. You're able to legislate really three different aspects of it: the speed at which they can travel, what roads they're able to travel on, and who can operate the vehicle.
Let's do it.
and
I think that those are all things that need to be addressed. So
Yeah, Bill,
I agree with that.
want to address it?
you're not going to hurt my feelings. I just want it black and white.
I think we should address it. And Angie, you're not the only person that's had that issue. So it's
Yes.
not just coming from you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it should be something that addresses ATVs and golf carts, not just golf carts, but I think we should include both.
We should,
Probably,
while we're doing
yeah.
it, we should do e-bikes as well.
Yeah, probably.
I know a lot of
But
cities are doing.
just so you know, I'm very open in this category. Like, I want as few restrictions as possible. Would be my personal opinion, just laying it out there.
Well, clearly that'll be mine too. Our city limits, the majority of our speed limits in our city are less than 40. South Weaver Drive, 40. Like really everything else is mostly 25, 35. But setting any personal interest aside, I think we just need to have it
Yeah.
clear. So,
Are you requesting the code committee look at that or the public safety
Yeah,
committee?
that's what I was gonna say. We have looked at public safety or code.
Didn't we talk about reducing the code meeting?
Yeah, we don't have code committees.
So I would say the public safety.
I have a very recent example of an ordinance that I can provide you to look at. And then
wonderful.
there
Public
are,
safety would be
Public
happy to
safety.
take this on.
Public safety,
Yeah,
e-bikes.
right.
And thank you, Jamie, by the way.
Thank you. That's my only new business I have.
Okay, committee reports. Larry, let's start with you.
Nothing to report.
Angie?
We have a Parks Committee meeting scheduled for tomorrow. At our last Parks Committee meeting, we went over our priority projects. Master plan. Thank you. Parks Master Plan. And I can't think of anything else specific for recreation. What? Yes, we do have a train club meeting tomorrow as well.
Enjoy.
Oh, I will.
Joel?
That was Parks tomorrow with the train club. That's all.
Nothing to report.
Jeremy?
I would recommend studying up on the gas station item that'll come up soon, because there's a lot in there and there were a ton of comments that came out of Planning Commission. So if you aren't familiar with what's going on, I would highly recommend becoming familiar
I
with
mean,
it.
I think all of us heard public comment on that.
For
I think
sure.
It would be good to, because it hasn't been in front of us at all yet. It'd be good to review.
How did it end at the meeting?
It's coming to us. They requested a couple of four
Couple of changes.
changes, and they
Who requested? Planning Commission or?
Planning Commission.
Okay.
Yeah, and the prior recommendations or requirements were all met, so that's why it's now coming to us. So that'll all be laid out, but it's a very intriguing option. I think,
So Planning Commission, what was the vote? Was it unanimous?
yes,
Thank you.
Oh, was it 4-1?
Four-
Oh, you're right. It was
4-1.
4-1. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think that was stemming primarily because of the median requirement that's currently there. So that one, I think that one is probably causing the most concern out of all the changes.
Yeah.
But
Do you think when we, as a matter of procedure, when we get something from the planning commission, we could actually get what conditions that they wanted on it or what things that they were concerned about?
We do.
I think
We do get that.
We usually don't get it in the packet.
What comes in, yeah.
Okay,
you gotta read the staff report.
I guess so. I thought it would be in the packet for the public, but I guess.
It's part of the packet.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Right.
Nothing to report.
Okay,
Mayor, can I report on a couple items?
yes, Dave, go right ahead.
Starting in March, beginning of March, the well-being survey that the Utah State University provided to the city a couple of years ago, the next iteration of that will be coming out. So we are part of a number of cities that participate in that well-being survey. If you recall, a couple of years ago, the data that we got from that was really neat and really helpful in a lot of ways. So that next round is happening, and staff, Shaylee specifically, has been working with USU. They've provided some information. There will be, social media posts and other ways to promote that. We hope to get as many people as possible to participate in that, but it's all run and managed through Utah State. We're just kind of the publication arm and promotion to have as many citizens as possible participate in that. And then Davis County is going through their general plan process. So there is an open house for Davis County on Thursday, March 19th. 5:30 to 7 o'clock in their county administration building, which is there in Farmington. So if you want to be part to, as they say on the flyer, help write the next chapter, March 19th. There you go.
Hey, Dave, thank you. Okay, Lisa?
And he wants to know what we're looking at, what isn't working and what we're looking. And if you have anything you want me to bring up with him, besides just the fact that it doesn't work half the time. But if there's any features that you thought we should have implemented before, now'd be the time.
I think that's definitely one of them. I would also like to see at least the camera that is most of the time pointing forward to at least be up to 4K. It's kind of difficult sometimes to see what's going on up here. And I want to see your smiling face.
I like the soft line.
That's for ink.
Doesn't have TikTok filters yet, but yeah. And then there was also part of the system we ought to look at is that they are talking more about how up at the state legislature, how we're going to may have to do ADA requirements on the website, but I think we're pretty much covered with everything that they've asked for so far. So we just need to watch that part.
Okay, then we'll look for a motion to move into our closed session. We'll be.
No,
discussing
sorry.
the sale
Wait,
of a
well,
real-
Shaylee has one more thing she needs to announce, or I can do it. It's for Saturday. Sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead.
We have father-daughter date.
Father-daughter date.
Saturday,
Yes.
6 to 8,
5 to 7.
5 to 7.
You
This is
bet.
what?
Shady deal.
Yeah.
Shaylee.
I got you. Yeah, Father-daughter date is this Saturday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Food will be served. It's $10 per dad. Daughter's getting free, and you can pay at the door. Or what I would prefer is pre-registrations. So if you want to register beforehand, that'd be great too. So, at the Family Activity Center, yes.
Does registration go through Friday night or?
It'll go night of. So
Okay.
so they can come pay at the door to get into the event on Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Mayor, I make a motion, we move to closed session?
okay, we're going to be discussing the sale of real estate property.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. You can use that gavel anytime she interrupts you. Just-
I thought.
Thanks, appreciate it. Thank you. Best. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. Enough? It's not broken. Well, I don't.
A continuance or postponement. Has to come with a date. People, and have to pick that up off the table. Unfortunately, you know, say your mother.
This, the same exact meeting here. But like, warrant. I mean, it's the same.
People they were on here. Whether it's down the road, a couple of weeks.
Like that.
On there. I'm gonna see you again.
Because I know every time I say it, where you go over it, until next week, no way.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Please have a reach out. It looks